Hello everyone. In this video, I will be discussing how I imagine the Book of Job as a stage play. So the reason that I wanted to do this, or that I felt inspired to do this, was because I was reading. I had talked a few videos back about how I'm doing this Bible in a year plan, and it's in it's in chronological order. So Job came pretty near to the beginning. So I figured, as I was reading it, I was like, I think that this would work well as a stage play. So then, these are some of the ideas that I've had on it. I've done a bit more research on it, but I'll probably have to read that book at least once, twice, maybe three times more before I put more effort into this and planning it out and seeing if it would actually work out or how well I would be able to do it. But I do have a plan, and I'm just gonna detail through what that plan is. So there is some confusion around the book of Job. It's a more difficult book to understand. So, but some of the research I was doing earlier today about it, I've done maybe, I've read the book. I've read the book of Job twice, and I've researched it for an hour. So if there's some inaccuracies in what I'm talking about here, forgive me. This is just first draft of a plan of how I would stage it. So there's some confusion around the book of Job. And Job is not actually as righteous as he may appear. And there's evidence for this throughout the text of Job believing that he's righteous to God by the works that he has done, not the faith or walking with God. And in one of the sources I referenced, he kept calling God, from Job's perspective, a divine vending machine, where I put this much good work in, I do this much sacrifice, then I get what I want, which is the wrong way to view God. That's the prosperity gospel understanding. That is the moralist understanding, and that is not the correct understanding theologically of God. So I think if I were to write it, I would want that to be a lot more clear, because that's not a thing that I completely understood from my readings of the book of Job. So, getting more into the meat of how it would actually work, I see it as 4, maybe 5 actors, depending on Elihu or how Elihu would appear. But it would be 4 different actors and a very bare set, maybe just chairs and some basic lighting cues. And would start with the prologue, which is the narration on Job's character, which is the first little bit in the first chapter of Job. And then it would cut to scene 1, which is God's court, which is also part of chapter 1, where God mentions Job. He's like, Satan, have you considered my righteous follower, Job? And Satan says, I think he's only righteous because you've given good things to him. See how much he has faith in you now or likes you now if you take those good things away. And then God says, do it. You have free reign to do bad things to him. So then we jump to scene 2, where the messengers tell Job of his losses, where he loses all his cattle or his family, and there's famine and everything bad that happens to Job in chapter 2, and he's told about it. And then he reacts, he throws his clothes, he shaves his head, and he's also given pores all over, I believe. And then we jump into scene 3, where Job's friends appear and begin their circle discussions in dense but comprehensible monologues. And this is a much longer scene. This is like just back and forth. This is the meat of the book. It goes of the book of Job. It goes from chapter 3 to chapter 28 in this one scene, where Job and his friends, where Job will say something, then a friend will respond, and then Job will respond, and then a different friend will say something, and Job will respond, and then the last friend, and then Job again, like those cycles. So cycle 1 from chapter 3 to 14 focuses on the main message of, is God just? And that's the main like theme of those conversations, like that lap around the circle that I had just mentioned. And then after that, it's cycle 2, which is chapters 15 to 21, which is does God run the universe based off this strict version of justice? Excuse me, water. Excuse me. Which is, again, another loop around that cycle. Then, cycle 3, chapters 22 to 28. How is how is Job's suffering then explained? Based off God's running the universe based off strict justice. So, essentially, if you don't know Job, this is probably a little late into the text or into this video to like explain Job, because people who don't know have probably already clicked off. But essentially, Job is this upstanding, righteous guy, and then he gets his stuff taken away, and he's like, "What did I do to deserve this? Why am I suffering? I've been so good." But he doesn't always. But it takes him a while to like actually come to the Lord and talk to the Lord instead of about the Lord, and actually pray. And Job's friends just keep on assuming that Job must have done something bad in order to deserve this, whereas Job thinks that God's justice system is inaccurate because Job is being inflicted with this suffering. So that's like the back and forth of those cycles. They're both incorrect views, mostly. So like there's some truths in all of it, but it's mostly an incorrect view that the incorrectness or like the misunderstanding of those views would be expressed as that during the play. So then after the cycles, it goes into Job's last statement where he asserts that he is innocent, and he demands an explanation from God. And then a fourth friend shows up. This is Elihu that I was talking about earlier, where he appears, and he has a different view on all of it. He says that suffering is a warning or just to build character. Excuse me, sorry. So looking at it in the form of a stage play, like I don't know how he would appear. Maybe like one of the other actors switches out, or there's a secret fifth actor. But that takes us all the way through scene 3. And then in scene 4, God appears and he humbles Job. He asks, where were you when I created the galaxy and the sky? Do you know how the deers drink water, or how they live? What about the camels or the lions? Like he goes on this whole rampage where he just attacks Job for assuming that he would know how the universe works and that he would be smart in running the universe. And the main point of this is that God's world is complex and not designed to prevent suffering. And that's essentially why Job suffers. And then after scene 4, we'd move into the monologue where God says, Job, you were right for talking and like to me finally. And your friends had the wrong view of it. And then Job's fortunes are restored that he had before it all got taken away. So how this would play as like on stage, like I'm not too sure. I still have to think about that. But I think that it could be cool if I make it cool in that sense. But I'll do more thinking. If you have thoughts on how, like, other ideas about how to do it, like if you have input, comment, like the comment section is always open. You can always bring me your view. I'll read all of those, and there'll be a discussion in here if you guys talk. Because I just want to put this out to the world for ideas. So if you have an idea, please share it. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to hear about them if there are any. See you.